Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. Now, I thought I'd do a video on changing the order of guitar pedals to see if changing the order and then stacking these pedals actually makes a difference. Now, I'm recording this intro after I've recorded the video, and to be honest, this has completely changed the way that I will now be stacking guitar pedals and recording in the future. Now, guitar tone is a very personal thing. What's great for one guy is, terrible for someone else. But I don't think I've ever been happier with my guitar tone as I have been during this video. So let me just quickly explain the change. So I'm using my Strat into this small pedal board, going into a Rev D20, and then going into a 2 Notes Torpedo Studio. So let's get to it. On my pedal board, I've got quite a small pedal board that I use for gigging, when we can gig, that is, which just consists of a tuner, a compressor, a boost pedal, a Ibanez tube screamer, and then an Earthquaker Devices plumes. I've done videos on all of these different pedals before, but what I haven't done is to do a video on stacking all of these guitar pedals and how I use them in a recording situation and live, and how I get different amounts of gain out of all of these pedals. So let's have a listen to just the guitar on its own, and then I'm gonna bring in the compressor. Now, even though this is a compressor and I am using it as a compressor, what I'm doing as well is to drive the front of the amp. Now, what that's doing is just creating a little bit more input going into the front of the amp, which is gonna create a little bit more drive. Now, the way that I'm using the compressor is to drive the front of the amp. So let me turn the compressor off. So as you can see, we've got quite a clean amp, but I'm pushing the volume on the compressor just to drive the front of the amp. So that's off. This is on. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because if I play softly, I can get a clean sound out of it, and if I use my dynamics, so if I play a little bit harder, I could just cook the front of the amp. So my compressor stays on permanently, but the compression level is actually quite low. It's just pushing it a little bit. And also on this compressor, which is a Keeley compressor, you've got a tone control, so you can brighten up. If you've got a slightly duller instrument, you can brighten it up. It's great for instruments if you've got like humbuckers. So let's turn on the boost. So the boost pedal is driving the front of the amp even harder. But again, it cleans up quite nicely. Then I've got an Ibanez tube screamer. So this is just with the tube screamer on its own with the compressor. So it's still quite a light overdrive sort of sound. Now, if I bring in the boost, it's going to drive the front of the tube screamer. So let's turn off the tube screamer and the boost. And now this is a plumes pedal on its own. And now this is the plumes with the black eye boost. And now if we want even more gain, I can go for the plumes with the tube screamer. So why do we stack overdrive pedals? Well, the idea, I guess, is that instead of having 3 different flavors of overdrive like I've got on my board, I can then have a combination of all of those 3. So, you know, we've got the boost going into the overdrive, and then the overdrive going into the pedal that's more overdriven than that. So the way that I normally work is to work from lightest overdrive to heaviest overdrive. But I've never really tested what sounds better. It's just that that's the right way of doing it. Now, I don't know if actually going heaviest overdrive to lightest overdrive is the right way of doing it. But how would it sound if we changed the pedal order around? So now I've got the Ibanez Tube Screamer going into the boost pedal. So the Ibanez Tube Screamer on its own sounds like this. And now if I switch on the boost, so we're getting a similar sort of sound, although because the Tube Screamer is a bit more distorted, it's driving the front of the boost, which is changing the sound. Now let's put the boost right at the end. So we're going to go Tube Screamer, plumes pedal, and then the boost pedal. So here's the plumes on its own. And now this is the plumes going into the boost. So we've tested everything else. Now, this is the heaviest overdrive going into the lightest. So let's see what the plume sounds like, which is my most overdriven pedal, going into the Tube Screamer. Now, interestingly, that's really brightened up the Tube Screamer, which for me is normally a darker, or my Tube Screamer is normally a darker pedal. So that has really actually improved it. So now let's see what the plume sounds like going into the boost pedal, which is the heaviest pedal going into the lightest pedal. Now, interestingly, again, that's really brightened up the sound of the boost pedal. It's actually got more presence. So for me, I'm starting to really like the way that the heaviest overdrive pedal is going into the lightest overdrive pedal. It sounds much more dynamic. Now, the way that I'm thinking this could really work is to get something like a Boss ES8 or a gig rig. Now, what that will enable me to do is to actually alter the position of any of those pedals. So what you can do here is to have different combinations of all of those pedals and actually swap them around internally inside the switcher. So it looks like I'm gonna have to go and put my hands in my pocket and go and buy a pedal switcher. If you can let me know in the comments what you thought, the combination that you preferred, or even if you actually heard any difference. Now, I would recommend that you don't just listen on your phone or on a tablet or on your laptop. Try and put some headphones on or try and listen through speakers. And yeah, let me know what you thought and what you thought was best. I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. I really hope you guys got something out of that. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe and click on that bell button and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats.